What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the world of Aim.
Brother.
To the world of Aim. Welcome back to the Breaker Broz. We're back, well, with a bit of a reaction to the Bengals versus Steelers, and then the Bengals versus Chiefs prediction. But I guess starting off, what's your reaction to the Steelers game?
Sucked. I don't know. It's just I guess the real takeaway is that it seems like teams that are dedicated to the run and running teams seem to really be able to give the Bengals a hard time. And I feel like Zach Taylor is a good play caller, and I feel like he tricks a lot of people. But I feel like with division opponents and people have played the Bengals a few times, I think that advantage kind of goes away because I think seems like they've kind of caught on to kind of the tricks, and I think that the Bengals have to beat teams more man for man, and being without key players really caught up to the Bengals.
Well, that and Pickens just had a really crazy good game. Like, I think he basically single-handedly won the game.
Well,
for the Steelers.
Somebody had to throw it to him.
Yeah, but I mean,
Mason Rudolph played a great game. I mean, he was dropping those.
I mean, he had a pretty good
right
game.
In there.
He got the ball. I wouldn't like. Don't get me wrong; they were good throws, but they were like the one Pickens made like an incredible adjustment and catch. I guess if you want to say anything, Rudolph threw the ball where only his receiver could catch it, and he made that amazing catch. And the other two plays were just one-on-one plays where he just took it to the house. It was just like it was. Yeah, just
but I mean, you got to make the read that the guy's one-on-one and get the ball out there.
Yeah. But what I'm saying, it was kind of like one of those plays where you throw it to Jamar Chase and he like breaks a tackle and takes it to the end zone. Or I mean, we even had the Bengals had a play like that in the second half with Higgins, and at that point I kind of had a little bit of hope because it was just like, okay, if they could do something on defense, stop him a few times, and we can keep scoring, we could basically get it close to where we can win it towards the end of the game, or maybe take it to overtime and win it. But then after T. Higgins scored that long touchdown, Pickens again scores another touchdown.
Yeah,
it was just like at that point it was pretty much game over. So yeah, I mean, that was my feeling, was just like, I think we know we're going to give up big plays on defense, like they've shown throughout pretty much the year that they're going to give up those explosive plays. But I feel like if anything, they just got to limit those. You know, it feels like we have those games where
I mean, it's attrition. I mean, you got Cam Taylor-Britt out, you got DJ Reader out.
But yeah, most of these big plays
you got Jamar Chase out.
Air, though, it usually comes down to like bad tackling or bad angles.
But to me, it's just volume of plays. If you're able to convert first downs easily through the run, you can take chances, because if you miss on a play, it's not a big deal if you can run it for 5-6 yards a carry, you know? So I just think it just takes the pressure off the offense, and they're able to go for deep shots because they know that they're going to be able to get another first down and get a play if they miss, you know? Like if you're having a hard time moving the ball at all, it's hard to take deep shots.
I think kind of what you were saying before is that maybe the divisional opponents have figured out what we like to do, especially when it comes to the run game. And maybe being a little bit more creative where you directly snap it to Mixon, or I don't know why they don't do more jet sweeps. Like, I feel like that would be, well, I get when
you watch other teams score touchdowns against the Bengals on jet sweeps, you're like, why don't we do that? We've got fast guys.
You have the situations where you put Chase Brown out there with Mixon. You can kind of mess around where you have both of them in the backfield, and you motion Brown out to like the slot, and then motion him back, and then you can do
the play the Steelers scored that touchdown on the jet sweep was a really nice looking play, because they
Yeah.
had the back run around and lead block for the jet sweep, and it just looked like there was just so much speed going to the edge there that they had an advantage.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't recall seeing that play before, um, and I liked it. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Bengals copy that. That was a nice play.
Oh, I'm
'Cause
sure. I'm sure
they've
they
got
will.
the personnel for that. I mean,
Yeah,
they've got
yeah.
plenty of speedy guys.
I'm sure that's something that they'll consider. But
But the other thing that kind of ticked me off is like they got cute again, right? Like when the game was a little bit closer and they had to was it a field goal or a turnover? I think it was turnover on downs, right? Where they were in goal to go and they threw it on 4th and 1. And they got to like no, it wasn't goal to go. It was like 2nd and 1 close to the in the red zone. And instead of giving it to Mixon, they threw it on 2nd down. And then they ran it to Mixon on 3rd down. You didn't get it. And then on 4th down, instead of giving it to Mixon again, they threw it and they missed, right? It was the one where like Higgins was in the end zone and he kind of came back for it and the ball was short and kind of there was a lot of contact, but I wouldn't have called that because the throw was so bad. But to me, it's just run it 3 times. You don't need to be cute. Just run it, you know?
well, yeah, I mean that's kind of what I'm getting at. It's like they just need to stop giving up on the run so much, especially if it's a because you want to limit those turnovers that can happen, especially in the Steelers game. Like, don't get me wrong, like I have confidence in Jake Browning or whatever, but at the same time, like he's still a newer starter. Like there's things that he's probably still hasn't seen that he's especially against a Steelers defense or like a Baltimore's defense where they know us so well, they're gonna throw in some wrinkles. Like, but if you keep running and maybe if you're just a little bit more creative when you run and you do those formations like that, like you're gonna open yourself
Yeah.
for more
Yeah.
opportunities
Play
in
with
the game.
play
But it's
with
just like that
formations.
game just
Yeah,
broke out so
totally.
quickly because it's just like their first offensive play when it or was it their second offensive play went for a touchdown. Like they got a touchdown immediately, and it was
Hmm.
like kind of downhill from there. And then
Yeah,
we had a
but I
few
feel
moments
like if
where
they would have scored a touchdown there, it would have stemmed the tide a little bit. But it's just things like that really irk me. It's just I don't care who the quarterback is. If you have a running back and that's his strength, is short yardage, and we both agree that like Mixon is the guy you want to give the ball to when he can sniff the end zone because he just runs with so much power and so much desire that I would give him the ball 3 times, unless it was like blatantly wide open and you check it at the line of scrimmage. But like to me, it's just like if you want to get cute, do like weird motions and try to fool the defense into thinking you're going to throw it because that's your tendency is to throw it anyways, right? So I mean, it's just like a frustration because it seems like when the Bengals play poorly, it coincides with the Bengals not running the ball enough. I mean, for
plus the
this season,
defense
for
giving up
sure.
big plays. I don't know. It feels like all the bad games feel very similar. It's like
Yeah.
they they have like a lot of turnover type plays on offense where they go 3 and out a lot,
Hmm.
can't run on offense, and then the defense seems to give up a lot of big plays too. It's just like it's
Yeah.
all in one. Um, but yeah, I guess shout out to you for calling the Steelers victory there. I bet yeah, it's just I always have it in the back of my mind, especially against like a Steelers team that
Yeah.
that type of game can always be potential because it's the Steelers and
Well, I just didn't have a good feeling about it. But I mean, to be fair, part of me, I was trying to do the old reverse jinx thing where it's like you pick the team to lose and you hope you're wrong, especially since I've been terrible at picking games this year.
I guess
Um,
that's a good segue into the Chiefs versus Bengals game. I
yeah.
see you
Yeah.
picked the Chiefs.
Also, I'm coming from storage closet room, my in-laws' house, so don't have my suite set up at home.
What time do you get back home?
Real soon.
So you'll be there by next week, next Wednesday, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, also be there by, we'll be able to do
Sunday.
the next game. Yeah, Sunday.
Well, yeah, and then
I'll be home before then.
Bengals got the late afternoon game, so it's at 4 or yeah, 4 your
Yeah,
time.
ring in the new year with the Breaker Bros.
Yeah, I mean, for the Bengals, there's a lot of key games that happen like early on that can really dictate a lot, and
Yeah,
just doing the different like playoff machines.
yeah.
Um,
We'll have to look at the playoff machine. I'm curious about that.
oh yeah. So I found a really good one. It's New York Times. The one that
Hmm.
they have is excellent. So we'll mess around with that after we do the prediction. I guess prediction side, but
Okay.
yeah, I don't know. I when I think of the Chiefs, it's very similar to the way I thought of the Steelers. Is just that you feel like they're kind of on a downhill skid. You know, like I maybe even more so for the Chiefs. I mean, obviously the Chiefs are still winning their division and they're more likely going to make it to the playoffs or whatever. But they're just not playing anywhere close to what Chiefs fans or what they expect. And
Hmm.
and I think some things finally caught up to them. I think they had such a good year last year in terms of their receiving corps, and because that was a big thing last year was the way that they're performing this year is kind of how the people thought they would perform last year without Tyreek Hill. Because
Hmm.
remember they had traded him right before the season, and a lot of people that last year felt that the Chiefs would take a step back in terms of like the receiving corps, and they actually did fairly well. I mean, obviously, because I'm going to say Juju Smith Schuster had a part of them winning the championship. Obviously, Kelsey's there, but it didn't seem like it affected them that much, obviously, because they won the championship. But this year,
Hmm.
it's definitely taken a toll. Plus, some of the things on the offensive line with a lot of, I guess, penalties that are going on and all that. But you can just see the frustration just taking over because, I mean, that's what I noticed when, and we kind of talked about it before when Patrick Mahomes went crazy about the right call. Just because
Hmm.
they don't call it every game and it's not something that they've typically called in the past doesn't mean they shouldn't call
Yeah,
it.
but I mean, in Mahomes' defense, like, I mean, not to get too conspiratorial, but you notice how the week after it happened, the NFL called a lot of those penalties to make it look like they do it all the time. You
Right.
know, it's just like such a uh, it's a racket the way they do things. You know, it's funny
Well,
because I was
I mean,
watching a game
don't get me
and
wrong.
they
Like objectively, the things that he said, like the refs have too much say in like who wins, and
yeah, yeah.
everyone's like
I
mad
mean,
about the inconsistency. But at the same time, the way he reacted was just to
no,
me an indicator
like, yeah, I agree
that
with
they
all the
don't
broader
have everything
points, except in that specific instance, he was offsides. Like nobody has said he's not offsides, right?
right.
Um, so I disagree with them complaining about it because the flag was thrown before the ball was thrown, and it was an offsides penalty, and it sucks that it was like one of the best plays of the year. But at the same time, the thing I don't like is how the NFL started calling more of those the week after to kind of like, make it seem like, oh no, this is normal. And then I think I even saw a broadcast where like, oh, it's a point of emphasis for the NFL. I'm like, it's not a point of emphasis where wide receivers line up. Come on now. And it's just like, you know what I mean? It's like you could see the league working, like telling the refs, hey, call some of those this week, and telling the announcers, hey, it's a point of emphasis this, not this season, just this week, so we can get the heat off of us for, kind of taking away like one of the better moments of the season, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, it's don't get me wrong. Like the refs have been very suspect for
Oh
a
yeah, no,
while.
I agree with
Uh,
the broader point. To me, and this has been the thing I've been consistently saying, that they need to stop putting the refs on TV. They need to take it off TV. Just go to like a video game style where like if there's a penalty, it just flashes at the bottom of the screen like a banner, a yellow banner, and it just says this penalty against this person, and then just show the replay. They don't need to show refs at all. And I think that by putting them on TV, you're making the refs think that they are part of the show, which unfortunately they are, but like it makes the game harder to watch. And I think that because they're on TV, they're like working out, they want to be on TV, they want to make calls. I just think it like feeds into mistakes.
yeah, I mean they should try something like that. Like so slowly take them out of it.
Yes.
Can't be like all at once type of thing because you know what I mean? Like they should just try different angles and perspectives and um
Just take
I,
them out completely. Take the guy out of the booth. Like, I don't want to hear them talking about it, you know? I mean, really what they need to do is they need to reduce their rules. They need to simplify their rules so it's not so complicated, you know? Like the catch, is it a catch? Is it a football move? You know? I mean, I think college has a better rule for a catch. It's just like 1 foot. It's easy, right? It's easy to see if someone catches it and puts 1 foot down, right? It's just easier to manage. You don't have to deal with all the extra crap and like the different rule for if you catch it outside the end zone versus if you catch it inside the end zone. I mean, I think that's all just trash. Like, just if you catch it and a foot touches the ground, it's a catch, right? And if you drop it, then it's a fumble, right?
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of the situations where I wouldn't hold your breath, and I think it's purposely done this way.
Oh yeah.
Otherwise,
No,
it
I
would have been
mean,
fixed a long time ago. However, just the way he reacted to it to me was a big indicator that there's a lot of things that are going on in, I guess, Kansas City that's not going their way.
mhm,
Because even what last week with Travis Kelsey throwing his helmet, there's just
mhm.
like there's so many things.
Well, don't you think
It's,
it's a problem that the tight end is now more famous than the quarterback?
what do you mean?
Like in the team dynamic.
Why do you think Kelsey's more famous than Patrick Mahomes? Or why
I
would that
just
even
feel like,
matter? Like,
huh? I
why?
think it
What would,
matters a little bit. I think it all matters, right? I mean,
I guess if you have a big ego,
oh yeah, I'm sure, NFL MVP doesn't have an ego. I'm
I
just
think.
saying.
I mean, I think he's kind of shown that he kind of does, but by the
Yeah,
way
that's
he
what I'm
reacts
saying.
to certain things.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
because like,
and
yeah,
like,
even the last game he was yelling at his offensive line. It was just like, and I
well, I
think
mean,
after
don't you
he had
think?
the turnover, I'm
I
like,
mean, follow me here, right? So before Taylor Swift showed up, didn't they always show his wife and his brother like in the box?
so you think he cares about that?
I don't know that he cares about it, but I bet you his wife cares about it. That all of a sudden that nobody cares about her anymore, right?
I don't. I think if anything, the whole thing with Taylor Swift would affect more with Travis Kelsey, more so like his personal life, just because when you're in the NFL season, like there's just so much time and energy that has to be spent like
Hmm.
towards games and stuff. And like if you want to have a celebrity personal life, like that could take away your attention. And because there's just so much like for instance, Joe Burrow is like, eh, and it's weird for me to even say this is like I feel like he's almost too much into football. You know, like he's so locked in. He doesn't even go out, or that's
Hmm.
what they say. Like he goes to bed real early, and like no one really comes over his house. His parents are not even allowed over to his house. You know what I mean? Like he's just locked in, right? To
Yeah.
whereas some athletes they're real casual about it, right? And they
Hmm.
don't. And you kind of want to find the happy medium where you're just locked in, and that can prevent some of the things. And I think he's at that point where he's kind of at that crossroads of like, do I really want to continue to go full 110% in football, or do I kind of want to start having like a personal life? And I think he is kind of at that crossroads. Um, so I feel like the whole um, Taylor Swift thing, if anything, is just more on Kelsey's personal life, and but to me, that's a big deal because like Kelsey has always been, maybe even a little bit with Tyreek, but really Kelsey has always been Patrick Mahomes' safety blanket, you know? So like
Hmm.
I feel like there were aspects where like this year where the wide receiver position is kind of holding them back. And like if Kelsey's covered and he doesn't have that second or third option, I think that's what's kind of catching them off guard. And that's why they're getting frustrated. Plus, our offensive line is starting to unravel. Um,
Hmm.
the Raiders like did like an incredible job of just having consistent pressure.
Hmm.
Because that to me is going to be one of the bigger keys to beating the Chiefs is just having that consistent pressure. Not like, and for me, like just double Kelsey the whole game. Just don't make him an option. And if he does catch it, it's only going to be for those 5, maybe sometimes 7-yard plays every now and then. You know, where he kills you is where he gets into space. He gets that 7-yard pass. It should be a 7-yard pass, and he turns it into like a 15 to 50-yard play. You know what I mean? Like he's
Hmm.
got he's so savvy on the field, but I feel like if you just always keep 2 people on him, like you can really limit that, and that's going to kind of like force them to try to go to that second or third option, and that's usually where you can get into these situations. And it's just like I feel like for the Bengals to have that success, they got to find a way to get that pressure with 3 or 4 people rushing. Like I
Yeah.
feel like if they blitz, um, which I'm sure there's gonna be times where you're gonna want to blitz, but I feel like they should only blitz a very limited amount of times versus like what they've been doing, because I just feel like if you blitz and he's able to read that what's going on, there's always going to be an option open, and it's usually where I feel like our linebackers have been getting killed. Is like they'll send additional people, and it's usually like a safety or something, and it's just like somehow our linebackers are trying to have to cover someone that's typically faster than them, and it's just like it never really works out.
Hmm.
So they got to find a way to pressure him without blitzing so much. I don't know. It's easier said than done, but I don't know. To me that would be the way to go. Just force them to have to give it to someone else besides Kelsey, because that's his safety blanket, and I think that's part of the reason why Kelsey has so many yards. They're just like forced yards. Like he just gets a lot of looks, and that's just what they're used to. And it just feels
Well,
like,
I think he's. I mean, he gets a lot of plays because he's an excellent player. I mean, he's
oh
just
yeah,
good at.
he's a phenomenal
He's a
player. Oh
good
my
at
god.
getting open. So,
Even at his whether you want to believe it or not, like his decline, don't get
well,
me wrong, he's still
that's your words.
that is my opinion,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
he's still a top 5 tight end. I'm not like disputing
yeah,
that. What I'm saying is that if you're just comparing him to himself at his peak, you could just tell that there's, to me, something going on. But I
yeah. I don't see it. I think he's still top of his game. Um, but I agree with what you're saying about like that's who you have to stop. Um, I mean, to me, the key is they just got to keep it close in the
yeah,
first quarter.
yeah,
They can't get behind like they did against the Steelers because I don't think that Browning. Um, I don't think he's just able to manage his emotions. I think he kind of freaks out and makes bad decisions when he's pressure's applied. Um, and I don't think that he's able to read dissect the defense and break things down. I think things need to be easier, and for that to be the case, you need to be able to call all your plays, right? You can't get in a situation where you're throwing it all the time. You can't be one dimensional. So to me, if the Bengals can keep it close and run the ball 30, 40 times, then they could win. But in Kansas City and the Bengals have been playing pretty close. And the thing that scares me about this game is basically the Bengals have played the Chiefs so much that it's almost like a division game,
yeah. But
They
we've had
played
their number.
well, Joe Burrow's had their number. I'm just saying, like,
I mean, yeah, but it mean
that makes a big
it
difference.
hurts not having Reader plus not having Burrow, but
Yes.
we do get Cam Taylor Britt, and I feel like Chase is gonna play.
Okay. Either way, I mean, it for the highest of stakes. To me, it's just like if you play another team for like the chance to go to the Super Bowl, I just feel like the level of detail in your preparation is much higher, and you just know the team so well. And like the Bengals and the Chiefs have been the same team
Yeah, but
for
I feel like there's
basically
more
the past
pressure on
3
the Chiefs
years.
though, too, because like it's at home, and
Why? I mean, aren't they going to be in the playoffs no matter what?
no,
Can the
if
Raiders
the
catch them?
yeah, if the Raiders win out and the Chiefs lose out,
Hmm.
and the Chiefs are potentially out of the playoffs.
Hmm. Yeah.
I think a lot would have to happen, like the Colts. No, it can't be the Colts. I think the Texans, Bills, like a few other fringe teams would have to continue to win out,
Hmm.
as you get in a situation where there's going to be a lot of teams with a 9-8 record.
Yeah. But I mean,
Um,
in terms of the Chiefs, though, I feel like they're still in position to win their division. All they have to do is win one game, right?
yeah, they just have to win the game. That's right. Yeah, and then
So
they win their division.
I mean, I just don't know that there's. I mean, you're talking about a team that's won a Super Bowl, right? I don't know that. But maybe you're right. I mean, maybe this.
I mean, if anything, what I've learned, especially the last couple of years, is that this is truly a week to week league. So it's
Well,
like,
yeah, I think being the more desperate team certainly helps.
I don't
But
know.
I mean, who's that
I
favor?
just I think that actually favors the Bengals because again, it's less pressure. I think more people, yeah, because like let's go back to the odds. The Bengals are or the Chiefs are a 7-point favorite. That's crazy.
Hmm.
So like that's not even close. So it's like they expect them to win handedly. Like usually
Yeah,
spreads are like what 3, 4.5, but 7. That's like that's a full touchdown and an extra point. Normally,
yeah.
like
Well,
6 is a lot. I feel like,
I mean,
so
you
they think
let
that
Mason Rudolph put 34 on you. It changes the perception of your team.
yeah, I get it, but that was mainly it was mainly George Pickens. Like, don't get me wrong, like he got the ball where it needed to be good enough, but I mean, he took 2 like good passes that should have been decent gains into touchdowns, which is crazy.
Hmm.
But nonetheless, I get what you're saying. That to me is a big
I'm
factor
just saying
too.
the point total skews the perception. I mean,
It's
it's
like when the
gambling
Bengals are
is
not giving up those big plays and actually tackling, their defense looks dynamic. Like they're causing turnovers and they're getting
yeah.
sacks and stuff. But then they have those games where they just give up those big plays consistently and they're not stopping the run. That's another
Hmm.
thing. Um, but the games that they look good, it's just the defense hasn't really been that consistent. Really, nothing about the Bengals team, whether it was on offense or defense, has really been consistent this year. I guess the same thing could be said about the Chiefs. Well, I don't know. I guess the main difference for the Chiefs now is that their defense has been playing a lot better than their offense, and it's just
Hmm.
like I don't know. Like I feel like a lot of things that people are complaining about the Bengals are the same things that they're complaining about the Chiefs. Is like they need to run it a little bit more, rely on the run game a little bit more. Like
Yeah.
maybe more so on
I
the
mean,
Chiefs.
that's
Like
the one thing about Andy Reid is like, I mean, I guess Zach Taylor's kind of the same. It's just he's never really worried about running the ball. That's never been his deal. So yeah, but I mean, like the gambling line to me is just a public sentiment thing. So it's not surprising that the odds are so in favor of the Chiefs. I mean, I just think that you know the gambling public thinks that the Chiefs are that much better than the Bengals. Um, and I guess I agree with them, right?
yeah, I mean, and don't get me wrong. Like I don't think this is like a guaranteed win on either side. I think both teams are facing a lot of similar. Well, they're having issues, consistency issues, and then I
Hmm.
like I said, I just feel like the Chiefs are feeling it more. I think because the Bengals are playing well with the backup, for the most part, that kind of alleviates some of the pressure. It's just like no one had any real expectations when Joe Burrow went down, and now that there is kind of an expectation, so it's like we're kind of playing above what people initially thought or would have expected. But with the
Hmm.
Chiefs, it's like most people thought that they were going to be the Super Bowl favorites, throughout the year. And then one of the biggest, well, the receiving corps has always been a question mark, but I feel like with the success that they had last year, it wasn't that big of a question mark. But I think going into the year, their offensive line and how they adjusted the tackle situation, to me, was one of the bigger question marks. And it seemed like earlier in the season, the offensive line of the Chiefs was actually playing decent.
Hmm.
But as the year went on, it just feels like the wheels have fallen off. I feel like they're getting injuries at the wrong positions and they're giving up a lot of pressures. So it's just like, and then, yeah, the wide receiver issue looks like 10 times worse than what they initially thought, mainly because there's not really a receiver that they can like lean on and they're having so many drop issues. Um, and to me, the tell sign is just how they're reacting to certain things with Kelsey throwing his helmet and Mahomes yelling at his offensive line to motivate him when he just had a turnover, and then him just like trying to threaten a official, like or that whole scene with the official was just so weird. With to me was that like they were holding him back from yelling at the official. Like it seems really
Yeah.
weird. Is the best way I can
Uh-huh.
explain. It's just like because if we go back to Joe Burrow, like he just has a completely different demeanor. Like don't get me wrong, like he
Yeah, but
shows
I
his
mean, Joe
emotions
Burrow's not playing. I don't know why we're talking about Burrow for this game. We got Jake Browning.
because it's the way you react to it is key. Because like there's been plenty of times where Burrows have had bad games or whatever, and he's just like, "Hey, it is what it is. I played bad. I'm gonna learn what I can, and you just move on to the next one."
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we love Joe Burrow, but I mean,
Right, but
he's not going to
Mahomes
help us
doesn't
this
have that
game.
mentality apparently. Like it just seems. Let me just put it this way: immature. Like it just doesn't seem like a
I
very
don't know,
mature
man.
quarterback.
I'm not gonna trash Patrick Mahomes. I mean, he's awesome.
Yeah, when he's playing well, but that's not the case this
He's
season.
objectively awesome. Yeah, I mean, everybody has a bad game, so he threw
It's
one
the
pick six, right? The other the other scoop and score was like a weird trick
he's
play.
leading the league in interceptions.
No, I didn't know that actually.
It's
I'd
the
still
most
take him.
interceptions. Well, of
I don't
course.
know if I'd take him over Burrow, but I mean, and it's um, but I'd take him.
I guess the point what I'm trying to say is like if you compare it to himself, right?
Uh
He's
huh.
he's having a bad season, but his bad season is a lot of other quarterbacks' great seasons, right?
Yeah.
I get that, but he's still having a bad season for Patrick Mahomes. Like it's just not
Yeah,
with
but he
the
doesn't need to have a good season for Patrick Mahomes or a good game for Patrick Mahomes to beat the Bengals. To me, this week is all going to be about can the Bengals hold on to the football and can they run it? And if they can run it 30, 40 times and not turn it over, then yeah, maybe they'll win. But if they turn the ball over and don't convert points in the red zone, they're going to have a hard time because it just doesn't apply pressure to the offense. They have to apply pressure to the Chiefs offense to feel like they can't take their time and find their way, right? And if you don't score and you don't move the ball and you're three and out or you know, move the ball a little bit and throw a pick, it's not going to get it done this game. They have to play a clean game.
but that's very similar to what the Chiefs' problems are. Like they're going through similar situations where they're having a lot of 3 and outs. They're not having that consistency, and they're having to rely on their defense, which to me is probably the bigger difference. Is that their defense has probably been a lot more consistent than ours in terms
Yeah,
of.
but I mean, I think the Chiefs offense right now is better than the Bengals offense. So,
Uh, I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, to me, it's like who's the best quarterback? That's the team that should win, you know?
Typically, but
Yeah.
again, Mahomes. Like, I mean, they both had pretty bad last games, but I'd be willing to bet that
Browning had a much worse game than Mahomes.
probably because he threw 3 picks, but
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes had a pick six and then a fumble that turned into. He basically had 2 plays that gave the defense
Yeah, I don't know if you put that
points.
on Mahomes or not, that fumble. Pick
What?
six for sure. The fumble was weird.
But he dropped it. He dropped the
I thought
ball.
he I thought he pitched it to the guy, or was it a
No, no,
direct
no.
snap
It was
pitch?
yeah. It was a snap to the running back, and the running back handed off to Mahomes, and Mahomes dropped it. I guess he wasn't
That's on Andy Reid. That's a stupid play. Why you would run that play is beyond me.
okay, but he's.
I'm
Yeah,
seriously, you're gonna
it's the
have the
same
running
thing.
back
It's
pitch
it's
it to the
it's the same
quarterback?
thing with the Tyler Board play where
Yeah,
like
it's like
it's a tough play, but why are
yeah.
you throwing the ball?
Yeah, it's like why are you trying to be cute? Like receivers catch the ball, you know,
So it's like
running backs run the ball.
he could have fell on the ball. You know what I mean? Like, but he didn't.
Yeah, except, like it's far fetched for Patrick Mahomes to run a pitch play. I mean, it's stupid.
Well, it wasn't a pitch play. It was like it was snapped to the running back, and then Mahomes was like running like the running back running in front of him. So he was, I guess it was like an RPO for the running back. But I agree, that's a dumb
I'm
play.
just saying, it's just like
It's like,
exactly like
'cause
why
I'm
are you
pretty sure
doing
at
that
that
stuff?
point, because like that had to be Edwards Hilaire or whatever his name is. Because I want to say Pacheco. Yeah, to me that's another big thing. Because I don't know if Pacheco is going to play this week
Hmm.
because he should be in concussion protocol. Like I don't know how he's going to pass. Like it's one thing when you have your helmet on, but when his helmet is off and he's just taking a knee straight to the side of the head, I don't know
Yeah.
how anyone can feel good about letting him play this week.
I don't know how that stuff works, man. It seems like
Well,
guys that
what they
shouldn't
say
play
is,
show up all the time and play.
well, for a lot of them, they can make it within the same, like, because normally if you have a concussion, they say you miss the next week. Well, the exception to that is if you start concussion protocol during that game.
Hmm.
You know how like sometimes they'll go out and they'll say like they won't return because he's in concussion protocol. Because that's
Hmm.
basically what happened to him. Because then you're basically starting the process a day earlier. So like that usually is enough for a lot of players to be able to play the following week. Because the same thing happened to
Yeah.
Cam Taylor Britt. He got knocked out in a game, but I don't know. I feel like it's less likely for him because where the Bengals benefit is that they played on Saturday and then we don't have to play until Sunday. To
Hmm.
whereas they played on Monday
Mm.
and have to play again on Sunday. So we actually have 2 days on them to.
Yeah, that helps. That helps.
So I don't know if Pacheco, and to me that
I
to
mean,
me
it
would be
helps.
one of
They're going to be the Bengals are going to be healthy, other than the fact that like their 3 or 4 best players are out.
well, if Chase is, I think Chase is going to play. And if
Okay.
he's out, that to me is going to be a pretty big blow. Because like even if he's playing and he's not 100%, he's a threat, and it
Yeah,
changes the way they're going to defend. So even if
I
he's
agree.
like
Or even if he doesn't play the whole game, right? If you
right,
can put him in for a little bit,
right,
it you feel a lot better about that.
yeah, because it's
I
going to
mean,
open
like,
things a lot more for T as well.
right, if it's like 3rd and 6 and you trot out Jamar Chase, the defense has to respect it more so than, I mean, no disrespect to Josh Bosch or Charlie Jones or Trenton Irwin. It's just different, right?
Well, I mean, I think he's a consensus top 5 receiver, Chase. So like for me, he's like clearly the number 1 receiver out of all of them, but I'm
Yeah,
probably
for
a little
sure,
biased.
right? I mean, that's what the team says too, right? So I'm just
But,
saying, like,
but yeah, you can't replace what he can provide because like those plays that we've seen against the Chiefs
yeah,
in,
exactly.
in the and the Ravens, where it's just like you take a simple catch and you take it to the house. It's like you put that type of player on the field, like the defense is always on edge.
Yeah, because it's like if one guy takes a bad angle, it's a touchdown. Whereas like most guys, one guy takes a bad angle, it's like an extra 10, 15 yards. It's not like, straight to the house. But all right, so I guess we showed our predictions. We haven't stated them, but I guess it's pretty obvious. Do you want to do the playoff thing? I want to
Yeah,
look at
we,
that
we
up
can get
here.
into the playoff thing here. Hold on, let me get to it. So what I was looking at, so the New York Times has like a really good
Hmm.
playoff predictor thing because they'll highlight the games that matter the most for your situation. So pretty much what I was doing was I was going through like all the different scenarios where like if they go 0-2 or 1-1 or 2-0. So it's basically like if they go 2-0,
Hmm.
then they're going to make the playoffs most likely. It's like you go 2-0 regardless of what like so it does it. Here, let me just do it. 2-0, right? They'll simulate all the other games
Hmm.
because believe it or not, there's still like a billion different scenarios that can run out in terms of the playoffs right now.
Well, I mean, that makes sense. That's kind of what we were saying, right? Because we
Yeah,
felt like I felt like the Steelers game was like a must win because I felt like they needed to get 2 wins, and I thought that the Chiefs would be a tough win. Whereas, you know, now if you win that, and then maybe the Browns sit all their starters in the final game.
that could be a potential too. That's
So if the Bengals win this game, the game against the Browns might not matter for the Browns.
yeah, that's true. I think it really comes down to a handful of games just based off of just messing around. And then if you split it,
Hmm.
so if they win against the Chiefs, lose against, or I'm sorry, if they lose against the Chiefs, win against the Browns, it's a 17% chance.
Yeah.
And if we flip it, so oddly, it's a little bit better if we beat the Chiefs. 21% if we switch it that way. However, so I was messing around, right? So like the ones that are kind of orange or bright orange, those are the ones that affect the odds the most.
Yeah.
So like this Bill game is actually Patriots and Bills game is probably one of the bigger games.
Hmm.
So if somehow the Patriots can upset the Bills, which is somewhat of a long shot, I mean, I can see it happening because I don't think the Bills are infallible. I think pretty much all the teams this year shown that they've been pretty inconsistent and that they could lose at any week.
Yeah. I mean, except for the Ravens have been pretty dominant this year.
Yeah, but I feel like they lost to. Yeah, I mean the Ravens or even the Dolphins. Even like if the Dolphins come in and beat the Ravens, then people are going to be on the Dolphins bandwagon for a little bit. Kind of like how they're on the Ravens right now. But I guess yeah, the Ravens have been technically the most consistent, but still, even then, they had some close games that they probably could have lost.
Hmm.
Um, and then the Colts, which I was kind of rooting for the Raiders. And then I guess another upset, Panthers beating the Jaguars,
Hmm.
which I heard it seems like it's trending that the quarterback for the Jaguars might not play. I can't think of his name right
Okay.
now.
Hmm.
And then I feel like a lot of these are kind of not long shots, but oh, and then the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks will beat the Steelers actually. And then I feel like the Broncos at Chargers is going to be pretty interesting, but it does kind of feel like I'm not sure if you saw the news that the Broncos are trying to tank now.
Yeah.
Well, partly tank, but they don't want, I guess, a potential injury to. Oh my god, I can't think of his name.
Russ.
Yeah, Russell Wilson, because
Mm.
it looks like they're looking to cut him because he's already guaranteed, like I guess, the 39 for next year. But
Hmm.
if he's healthy and can pass the physical by March of next year, then the following year is guaranteed. So there's speculation that, or sources are basically confirming that he's going to get cut before March. So they'll pay out
Yeah.
the 39 million, but then they don't have to pay the following year's guarantees.
Yeah.
Um, so it's looking like they're wanting to cut him.
Hmm.
So they're putting the backup in. So I don't know. I guess the Broncos were starting to play decent, and then I don't know. It seems like now they're starting to give up because.
Okay, so you're gonna pick the Chargers to win?
Well, I am picking the Chargers to win because that those are the games that affect the most. Because if
Hmm.
you do these right, because say if the Bengals go 1-1, and these teams win, oh, this one right here.
That's a tough one.
What Jaguars at Titans?
No, the Ravens Steelers game.
You think the Steelers are going to win?
I don't know. I mean, if the Ravens have the bye locked up, do they play their starters?
Well,
Right.
I guess that's going to come down to this week because here's the thing: if the
Okay.
Ravens beat the Dolphins, and yeah, then they might rest their starters because I think they'll clinch the number 1 seed if they
Gotcha.
beat the Dolphins. However, the Dolphins win, then they still might not play because no, they'll have to, right? Because they'll have the same record, but the Dolphins would have the head to head, and no one else will have the same record because they well no because what are the Browns record?
11-5. Is that right?
No, I
Yeah.
think it's with this.
Oh. Okay. We'll take that out. So are they? What's their record right now? 10-5. So the Ravens are 2 games ahead of them.
Ooh. So yeah, I think because if the Browns win this week and they play the Jets, I think that kind of forces yeah. Yeah, because if the Browns win and the Ravens happen to lose against the Dolphins, they will have to play regardless. Because the Browns could potentially still win the division if they win out.
Hmm.
So that would be the determining factor. Pretty much the Dolphins Ravens game. Because if the Ravens win, then they pretty much lock the number 1 seed. So the Ravens would have to lose. Yeah. Because there's only 2 more games.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I feel like the Dolphins can beat the Ravens.
Yeah, of course they
the
can.
Dolphins.
Yeah, it's kind of a. I mean, not like a true trap game, but you know, I feel like the Ravens really took that game against the 49ers personally. So I don't know if you can maintain that level of intensity 2 weeks in a row. So potentially the
Well,
Dolphins could catch them
the
off
thing
guard a
that
little
scares
bit.
me the most about the Ravens is just they're built really well.
Hmm.
Like they're very a well built team in terms of like complementary play because it's like I heard a lot of talk about Lamar Jackson being an MVP after them, destroying the 49ers, whatever, but no one really talked about how dominant the defense was. It was just like, and their defense has been pretty dominant throughout the whole year. And it's just like throughout the first half or the majority of the game, it felt like the Ravens offense was starting on the 50-yard line.
Yeah,
Or, on
it
their side of
helps.
the field, and like all they have to do is hand off the ball, and whoever's in the backfield seems to do really well. Plus,
No,
Lamar
yeah.
Jackson is a freak when it comes to running and passing. So it's just like because he adds that double dynamic. So like when he does have to run, he's running at 15, 20 yards, and I think he had like a 30 or maybe a 40-yard run in that game too. That
Yeah.
basically broke their back. It's just like, but then again, it's just like the Dolphins. They might match up really well against them because it's like they're a very high-powered offense, and they might be able to jump on a lead against the Ravens. And I think that's where the Ravens might have an issue when it comes to their team is that they never really been built to come back. Like they're really good at like maintaining a lead and playing with the lead,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I think that's always been their struggle is like if they're down like 2 possessions, right? If it's like a 10-point game or 8-point game where you have to get that double score, I don't know if you have the same confidence as you would have in other teams, to come back and win the game late that way. But I don't know. I mean, they seem to be the most consistent team if you look out throughout the year. But I mean, they definitely had their moments where they didn't seem like they knew what they were doing, or not that they didn't know what they were doing, but things weren't going their way necessarily. It was like
Yeah.
early in that 49ers game, it was like seemed like the 49ers had a chance to like take a really early lead and take control, especially after that safety,
Hmm.
a crazy play with
Where he
the ref.
tripped over the ref.
Yeah, uh, it seemed like there was going to be moments where it was like, okay, but no, the Ravens defense was just. I think they had 3 turnovers by halftime,
Yeah.
so this is like it's really hard to win those games,
Hmm.
especially. That was my whole thing. It was just like it was kind of close because it's like they would get the turnover, but then they kept getting field goals. They weren't getting as many touchdowns.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
could see
49ers have a good team as well. So, I mean, be interesting. I mean, the Dolphins are definitely good enough to beat the Ravens. So, I mean, I don't know that I would pick the Dolphins to win that game, but I could see it.
no, it should be a fun game.
Yeah.
Definitely gonna be rooting for the Dolphins, but um,
Should you?
yeah, because
Why?
if the Ravens win, then they're most likely going to rest their starters,
Oh,
and
against the Steelers.
and we kind of need the Steelers to lose one of their two games,
Yeah.
preferably both of their games. But I think at
Mhm.
least, well, we got the same record as them, so yeah. If they lose both games, then we only have to win one. But if they win one game, then we have to win two. Because if we finish the same record as the Steelers, then they're above us.
Yeah.
So we kind of want the Ravens to have to play their starters, which I think they will. Well, if the Dolphins win. Because if the Dolphins win, then the Dolphins need to win out to maintain the number one seed.
Yeah. Who has the number one seed now? Is it the Ravens or Dolphins?
Ravens.
Gotcha.
Because hold on. I think the Ravens are 12-3.
Yeah.
So the Dolphins are like 11-4. So they're only like one game behind, but then if they win, they'll have the same record, but then they have the head-to-head. And then they basically have to play the last week, both teams, Dolphins and, which basically what I want, because if the Dolphins are forced to play the Bills, then the Dolphins have to win that game to maintain the number one seed. And that kind of helps keep the Bills out of the playoffs, or at least close to our record, because we want the Bills to at least finish with our same record, because then we'll have the head-to-head against them. So we kind of want the Bills to lose the last couple of games. I don't know. The tough one's gonna be against the Patriots. I don't know. It's that's gonna be a wild card game, because it's one of those games where if you look on paper this year, then the Bills should win, especially with the way things are trending. But it's also one of those games where I can just see like Bill Belichick just like wanting to win it, finding a way to win. But then I guess they kind of had that game last week too, so because they won last week.
They won last week. Yeah. Who'd they play?
I think the Broncos.
Mm.
I would say the Bills are better than the Broncos, but
yeah,
I don't know. The Patriots always had a good defense. It's just like their offense just can't really put points on the board. So if they just can find a way to score enough points, their defense might be able to win, or will the way to win the game or whatever. But I don't know. I guess the first slate of games on Saturday and Sunday will tell us a lot.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but ultimately they just need to win.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if they win out, then they don't really have to worry about much. I think.
Yeah, just win some games.
I think if they win out, it's at 94%, but gotta get rid of these games. Oops. I think the one for sure. Yeah, it's 93. Ravens. Actually, I think technically the Ravens, they don't have to lose to the Steelers. They would just have to lose to the Eagles or Seahawks. Oh, and then, yeah, one of these games. So if we went out, then only the Titans, Panthers, or Patriots need to get a win in their game, and then we basically make the playoffs. So, like, the Patriots upset should be 100%. Yeah. So you're right. That's the easiest way. But it doesn't even have to go that way, because it's 94%.
Yeah. So if another good break happens, so basically they need to win out.
Most likely, let's just go by most likely. So,
wait, okay.
I feel like the Texans are probably going to win. See how like all these percentages are the same, so they don't really have any effect on their outcome. So you don't really have to mess with them. Oh, okay, so then it really comes down to this next week, week 18. So if the Dolphins win, which again, if they win against the Ravens, then they're probably more likely compelled to play their starters. Because if they lose against the Ravens, then they may even rest their guys at this point too, because I think they'll have the 2 seed locked, and there may not be
Yeah.
an incentive for them to play against the Bills.
Yeah.
But I could also see the Colts beating the Texans too, because they could be trying to lock a playoff seed.
Yeah. I mean, I think the Colts are. I mean, I think the Texans
Yeah,
is
I could see the Titans also beating the oops,
Jaguars.
yeah. But let's say if
Yeah.
they all win, is there still a way for us to get in?
Nope.
Damn. So one of these.
Well, you didn't pick the Steelers, though. Oh, I guess the Steelers don't matter anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't. I guess because it creates like a 4-way tie or something.
It's crazy. Yeah. So basically, the two paths are the Bengals win the division, or I'm sorry, the Bengals have a better record than the Steelers for the rest of the season, and
Steelers,
obviously,
yeah, they
right,
have to have a better record than the Steelers
or
and
um
Texans.
the AFC, was that Central South, AFC South has to have like one team win and the rest of the teams lose, right? So that the Bengals would have a better record than them, even though the Bengals are in third or fourth place or whatever in the division.
Yeah, yeah.
So you need the AFC South to only get one playoff spot because the rest of their teams have lost, or the Bengals need to leapfrog the Steelers on record. Right? So like say the Bengals go 2-0 and the Steelers go 1-1, what happens?
The Steelers go 1-1 and the Bengals go 2-0, then we make it over them.
Right? So Ravens win, say Ravens win that week. Okay, then the Bengals are in, right? So that's what it is. It's like those are the two scenarios. Either the Bengals have to get the third place in the AFC North, or the AFC South has to only have like one team with like essentially one team with a winning record.
There's also a weird way where all 4 AFC North teams can make it in.
That's the way. So if
Yeah.
the Bengals win one game and the AFC South, like the 2 of the 3 teams of the Titans, Colts,
Yeah, the Bengals would have to go 2-0 and the Steelers would
and
have
the
to go 1-1.
Texans.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I mean, this is exactly what they wanted when it came to the adding another week.
Yeah.
Was, I guess, to increase more of those long shot odds of those fringe teams. But I don't know. I feel like this year is a lot different than most years because it just seems like there's so many teams.
Yeah,
Actually, I
it's
think
just
I said
all the injuries to starting quarterbacks is. I mean, I think they like the fact that so many teams are in it, but I don't think they like the fact that the quarterbacks are getting hurt.
no, that's true for sure. I
They
think,
much rather have the quarterbacks be healthy and like these games being like 35-31 kind of shootouts.
yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, it's just I think they said there was like 40% of the league is either 8-7 or 7-8 right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why there's so many different possibilities when it comes to the playoffs right now. I guess a lot of mediocre teams and a lot of no real juggernaut, I would say. I guess you could say the Ravens, but I don't know. Because I mean, a lot of the way they were talking about the 49ers was the way they're talking about the Ravens now. But I don't know if the Ravens have a really strong showing against the Dolphins, then yeah, I'd be willing to give them. But if the Dolphins do what the Ravens did to the 49ers, then everyone's going to be on the Dolphins bandwagon, right? So like
Yes.
if the Dolphins blow out the Ravens, they're like, oh my gosh, it's just how the NFL
Yeah. Well,
is.
that and the Dolphins are a really fun team to watch.
They
Because
are. They are.
their offense is like explosive, and they do a lot of weird stuff like throwing it sideways and
They're the team that when they do a trick play, it works. Like everyone
yeah.
else, it just doesn't seem to work out that well. But yeah, but no, I was pretty bummed out about the loss because like I was thinking in my head that
Yeah,
loss.
I was worried about you, man.
No, I mean, I was just thinking like there was no way for us to make the playoffs because it seemed that way. But then after seeing like the different, because like again, we can still go 1-1 depending on whether we beat the Chiefs or the Browns, and
hmm
depending on how the games slide, um, we can still make it in. And then if we go 2-0, then it's pretty much a lock. But there are a few games that matter in terms of them making. But yeah, no, it was just I don't know. It just sucks to see them lose like that, especially against the Steelers. It'd be one thing if it's the Vikings or whatever, but it's like why does it got to be the Steelers or sometimes the Ravens?
Yeah, well,
It's even the Browns.
they would be in a much better position if they beat the Steelers and lost to the Vikings.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's just those division games matter.
Yeah, yeah. When it
Even
comes to
though it's
seeding.
wild because there's a scenario where they beat the Chiefs and lose to the Browns and still make the playoffs and go 0-6 in the division.
I would actually like to see that happen, but of course, I would like to see us beat a division opponent in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Just to show that a team can make it without winning any division games.
Yeah, I mean, if it happens, I guess I won't be allowed to freak out anymore in week 3.
Uh, I don't know. It's been an incredible season in terms of roller coaster ride. It's just
Yeah.
started off real bad, had a good like second quarter to where we're like, we're back to the Bengals, and then I guess a little bit after midseason, it was kind of like after the injury, it was kind of downhill.
Yeah, and then it bounced
What?
back and now back down. So,
Yeah, I don't know if you just finished strong. Because I truly believe. I mean, even with the way the Dolphins and Ravens are playing, I feel like anything can happen in the playoffs.
mhm.
So just hopefully we can get there because I feel like the AFC is still pretty open. I feel like the NFC is a little bit more like it's really just going to come down to 3 teams. To whereas I really do feel like the AFC is still pretty open. But we'll see. It's gonna be fun last couple of weeks.
Yep.
All right. Guess we'll end it here. See if I can find the video. All right.